Welcome to our newest episode about the Galileo Galilei. Subscribe our channel and enjoy. Galileo Galilei was indeed an Italian astronomer, physicist, and mathematician who was born in Pisa, Italy, on February 15, 1564. He made significant contributions to the development of the scientific method and is considered one of the most important figures in the history of science. Galileo is famous for his observations and experiments with the telescope, which he used to make groundbreaking discoveries in the fields of astronomy and physics. He was also a prominent advocate of the heliocentric model of the solar system, which placed the Sun at the center of the universe. Galileo Galilei was appointed as a mathematics professor at the University of Pisa in 1589, where he taught for several years. During this time, he developed an interest in the work of Copernicus, who had proposed a heliocentric model of the solar system, with the Sun at the center instead of the Earth. Galileo's support for this model and his outspoken criticism of the traditional Aristotelian view of the universe led to conflicts with the university authorities and the Catholic Church. In 1592, Galileo was forced to resign from his position at the university, and he went on to take up a position at the University of Padua, where he continued his research in astronomy and physics. Galileo Galilei continued his academic career as a mathematics professor at the University of Padua after leaving the University of Pisa. It was during his time at the University of Padua that Galileo made many of his most significant discoveries, including his observations of the moons of Jupiter, which provided strong evidence for the heliocentric model of the solar system. He also made important contributions to the study of mechanics, including the law of falling bodies and the principle of inertia. Galileo's work at the University of Padua helped to establish him as one of the leading scientific figures of his time. In 1610, Galileo Galilei published a book called Sidereus Nuncius, commonly translated as the Starry Messenger, which described his groundbreaking astronomical observations and discoveries. In this book, Galileo described his observations of the Moon, the phases of Venus, and the four largest moons of Jupiter, which he called the Medicean stars. These discoveries provided strong evidence for the heliocentric model of the solar system and challenged the traditional Aristotelian view of the universe. The Starry Messenger was a landmark work in the history of science and helped to establish Galileo's reputation as one of the greatest scientists of his time. Galileo's most famous work is indeed Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems, which he published in 1632. This book was a defense of the heliocentric model of the solar system and presented arguments in favor of the Copernican system, which had been previously condemned by the Catholic Church. The book took the form of a dialogue between three characters, who represented different points of view on the topic of the solar system: Salviati, who defended the Copernican system; Sagredo, who was open-minded and willing to consider both sides of the debate; and Simplicio, who represented the traditional Aristotelian view and was portrayed as a foolish and stubborn character. The book was highly controversial and led to Galileo's trial and condemnation by the Catholic Church in 1633. Despite this, Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems remains an important work in the history of science and a testament to Galileo's courage and commitment to the pursuit of scientific truth. In 1633, Galileo Galilei was summoned by the Roman Inquisition to stand trial on charges of heresy for his support of the heliocentric model of the solar system. At the trial, Galileo was accused of holding and teaching the view that the Earth revolves around the Sun, which was contrary to the official position of the Catholic Church. After being interrogated and threatened with torture, Galileo was forced to recant his support for the heliocentric model and was placed under house arrest for the rest of his life. The trial was a significant event in the history of science and highlighted the tensions between science and religion at the time. However, it is worth noting that Galileo's trial was not a simple case of science versus religion, and the historical context and complexities of the trial are still the subject of much scholarly debate today. After being sentenced by the Inquisition, Galileo Galilei was placed under house arrest in his villa in Arcetri, near Florence, where he spent the rest of his life. Despite his confinement, Galileo continued to write and study, and he produced some of his most important works during this period. For example, he wrote Two New Sciences, which presented his ideas on the science of motion and the principles of mechanics, and Discourses and Mathematical Demonstrations Relating to Two New Sciences, which was a sequel to the former work. Galileo also continued to correspond with other scientists and philosophers, and he remained an influential figure in the world of science until his death in 1642 at the age of 77. In addition to his work as an astronomer, Galileo Galilei was also a prolific inventor and made many important contributions to the fields of ballistics, mechanics, and engineering. He is credited with inventing the military compass, which was an important tool for artillerymen in calculating trajectories and ranges of cannon fire. He also made significant contributions to the study of mechanics, including the principles of inertia and the law of falling bodies, which helped to lay the groundwork for the development of classical mechanics. Galileo also designed and built a number of innovative machines and devices, such as the thermoscope, a precursor to the modern thermometer, the hydrostatic balance, a device for measuring the specific gravity of liquids, and the pendulum clock, which he did not build himself but provided important theoretical groundwork for its development. Galileo's work as an inventor and engineer was an important part of his legacy and helped to shape the course of scientific and technological development in the centuries that followed. Many of Galileo's original instruments and telescopes are still preserved and displayed in museums around the world, and they provide valuable insights into his methods and techniques as an astronomer and inventor. For example, the Museo Galileo in Florence houses a number of Galileo's telescopes, including his original telescopes with which he made some of his most important astronomical discoveries. Similarly, the National Museum of American History in Washington, D.C., has on display Galileo's original telescope that he presented to the Medici Grand Duke in 1610. Galileo's legacy continues to inspire new generations of scientists and thinkers, and his contributions to the fields of astronomy, mechanics, and engineering are still recognized and celebrated today. Galileo Galilei is widely recognized as one of the most influential figures in the history of science and astronomy, and his work had a profound impact on the development of modern science. Galileo's use of the telescope to study the heavens revolutionized our understanding of the cosmos and paved the way for many important discoveries in astronomy. His work on mechanics and the principles of motion also helped to lay the groundwork for the development of classical mechanics and the modern scientific method. Galileo's legacy continues to inspire new generations of scientists and thinkers, and his contributions to the fields of astronomy, physics, and engineering are still celebrated and studied today. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Subscribe our channel and see you in next episodes.